Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for the question. This is something that is dear to all Fijians, particularly those that are affected during Tropical Cyclone Winston. Madam Speaker, the simple answer is we have a building code. I'll come back to the building code, but at this stage there is a committee under the Minister of Industry and Trade, and it's called the Trade Standards Advisory Committee, that are looking again into the building codes together with the Fiji Institute of Engineers. I'll explain the reason why, Madam Speaker. The Fiji Building Code and the Home Builders Manual was introduced into Fiji in 1990. This is after the experiences from the cyclones in the 70s and in the 80s, the devastation. This led to the National Building Code. We were assisted by Australia, and the Home Builders Manual given to government in 1990. However, in the implementation of the code, it was just restricted to the municipal boundaries, and it does not apply to the rural areas. There were reasons behind that as well. During that time, it was a question of affordability, given the stage of development that we were at, and this was one of the reasons why government then decided that the National Building Code, although relevant and applicable to all Fijians, but in terms of the implementation, it was optional to our people living in rural Fiji. That, Madam Speaker, is currently under review. And may I just add, there are few critical contributing factors to this, and it is a major lesson for all of us. The key statement that we should give all Fijians today: everybody must invest in their homes. But the contributing factors are these: one, quality of materials. Some materials used in most of the buildings that we assessed were not of good quality, inferior quality materials. Secondly, was the quality of workmanship. This probably goes two ways. One, most people in rural areas, they just hire whoever has got some carpentry skills to do the work for them. But most of these, Madam Speaker, are not qualified, and so that is an issue. And of course, those that are contracted as well, it's quite disappointing, even particularly in schools, where contractors are hired, but the quality of workmanship is not to the standard that we would expect. Thirdly, was the law itself that I have stated. People were given options, but because of their economic situation, they were not really investing into their homes. And of course, there is another key lesson that we learned from this. When the building code, Madam Speaker, was passed in, it was under the Ministry of Health, under the Public Health Act. Whether health is the relevant ministry, that is something that is currently under review and probably will end up in Parliament. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary question, Honourable Bolitawi.
Speaker, I thank the Honourable Minister in regards to his answer. Given that, how will the Ministry monitor that all that will be benefiting from the assistance scheme, the card system, will be complying with the National Building Code? And if those that will not comply, what will be done to the structures that have built?
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honourable Bulta, for the question. There are two approaches. Again, consistent message is building back better, building back stronger, invest in disaster risk reduction. For those that are building, Madam Speaker, this is what we're giving them. Tips to build back better, build back safer. Nabika me torubaki and kena tarbu tale bamata in Dorvale, and then the Hindi translation as well. This is very basic, and if our people can follow this, it would really save them a lot, particularly in terms of preparedness in the long term. This was developed in 2012 after Cyclone Evans. We asked the Fiji Institute of Engineers if they can provide this to us. So for those that are building, and you can take a few. And even, Madam Speaker, on how you apply the strapping and the nails and screws on every groove. This is something that most rural Fijians will appreciate. And then there is a question of retrofitting. Some people, they don't build to standard. But over time, the encouragement should always be they should start retrofitting. Improve, invest into their homes. Because severity and intensity is going to continue. So again, that's a key message that all honorable members of this House must take to the communities. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I give the floor to the Honorable Sarah Tirunrunru.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We've heard this morning that the 7,000 assistants for a house, and we are hearing the Honorable Minister on the compliance to the National Building Code. I, for once, Madam Speaker, have got a quotation for a partially damaged house from Nombalau. And the cost is, for just the materials alone, is almost 13,000. And the cartage, I tell you, Honorable Minister, it'll be about 5,000. And the cost of labor will be about another 6 or even 8,000. So in total, Madam Speaker, for our house, even for repair works, this is just roof repair, we're looking at about 20,000. And Honorable Minister for Finance has confirmed to us this morning that we are only looking at 7,000, 3,500, 1,000 for repair works. And the Honorable Minister responsible for disaster management has mentioned that they're going to enforce the National Building Code. The question is, how are you going to marry the two? How are you going to align these two? On one hand, you have housing assistance, which is very insufficient. It's actually an insult to the people. And on one hand, you're having the enforcement of building code, Madam Speaker.
Point of order.
Speaker, the Honourable Randondro is making a statement. As we have said, the supplementary question, you need to be quite concise and precise to be able to ask the question. It must be subject related. She's going off on a fishing expedition.
Thank you. Thank you. I did mention yesterday that for supplementary question, an honourable member is given 1 minute. So if the question is not asked within that minute, then he loses the question. And this is why we were keeping tag on the time that was given. You have asked your question?
Speaker, can I clarify? The Honourable Minister for Finance asked for clarification. So can I just state my question clearly now? The question is, can the Honourable Minister explain to the House how you're going to marry the financial assistance given by government and the enforcement of the building code? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the long question. Let me remind the honourable member that the democracy that she talks about requires a lot of wisdom and common sense as well. And I specifically stated yesterday that recovery and rehabilitation is a long process. And we have given options to the people because there are people who can go without waiting for the government's rehabilitation and recovery process. That will come after the PDNA. I'm just repeating now for her benefit again. Those that have already or are willing to go ahead with to construct their homes, those are the Build a Home initiative by government. Transportation into the islands, we are aware, and government can assist in the transportation of materials. Even in the rural housing policy that we have, homes that are built in rural Fiji, they can even buy their materials and bring it to rural development. and rural development takes it to the islands. And that is always the case as well, Madam Speaker, post-disasters. Secondly, we've made it clear yesterday that those that do not want to come under the home initiative, government has got its standard housing, the 24/16, that again is under, the plan is under review, and there has been some recommendations for improvement, and that will be what we will take to the communities as well after government has assessed the PDNA report, which will be coming probably tomorrow, and then we will do the recovery framework, and then we will come up with a time frame, and then resources will be given accordingly. So whether they are in the Maritime Islands, options are there for them, Madam Speaker. If they can build now, and if they need assistance on the transportation of material, they come and see us, we can provide for them. But for those that want to wait, of course, government has their plans on the reconstruction and recovery process as well. But what we must consider, Madam Speaker, is there are about 31,000 homes that needs to be rebuilt, whether it be partial or impartial. If we allocate, say for example, just for 11,000 houses, if we allocate a cost of $23,000 each, that's about 393 million already. So democracy, we need to have wisdom and common sense, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the Honorable William Ingawoko.
Madam Speaker, yes, he's answered part of my question, because my people in my area from the Maritime Zone are paying about $1,000 to transport their building materials to the islands, and out of 7,000, it doesn't go really far. And I just like the way this question is worded. Cyclone Winston has exposed the weak link. They also exposed, Winston has also exposed the level of poverty in this country that Fiji has been trying to hide all these years. So that's something that we must always remember, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary.
Thank you. Can we have the answer to that supplementary question first? And that is the third and last supplementary question, by the way. Honourable Minister, you have the floor. Sorry, you have withdrawn, but the time taken for the third supplementary question has been taken up. Thank you very much.